How you doing? Welcome back to the show, and welcome to the first in a series called What Went Wrong, What Went Right. Bit of a tongue twister. So we're going to go through each of my films. We're going to talk literally about that. We're going to talk about the things that went wrong. We're going to talk about the things that went right. Obviously, I can't tell you everything that went wrong and everything that went right, because each one would be a 2-hour documentary. You'd get bored and no one would watch it. So I'm just going to highlight points each time, in no particular order, what went wrong, and we'll start with that and then we'll finish with what went right. And you might see some similar themes pop up during production, from one shoot to another. You might find similar themes of what went wrong and what went right, and there'll be unique and different stuff each time as well. So first one, going into it, we have Jill Foster. Alright, in no particular order, what went wrong? Number 1, rain. So, on our first day of filming, we had rain. We had heavy rain in the afternoon, and we lost all our rest of our day's filming. So we only got half a day when we planned to shoot a very long day. So that was a problem already. We couldn't shoot anything else instead, because we had locations at certain times only. We couldn't move on to anything. The rest was mainly outside anyway. Tight schedule. We couldn't get people back further down the line. There were big scenes. We had a big fight scene planned. It was like a kind of shootout, and with action hand to hand as well. Where Jill Foster, aka Jess, was going to be fighting these two guys. It was really cleverly choreographed. We'd done a quick bit of rehearsal that day as well, doing some jiu-jitsu submissions on the ground. It was really cool actually. A triangle choke off her back. It would have been a nice finish, but we couldn't do that in the end because of the rain. And to make matters worse, we lost our two stunt guys because they couldn't come back to do it the next day either, so that was a problem. We struggled just to get like the main cast back, to be honest with you. So yeah, these things happen. Number 2, the recasting of Daniel Lang. So this one is kind of good and bad, so I'll explain that as we go. We had originally written this role for Lang, Daniel Lang. He's always been a friend, he's always been involved in the filming as well. You know, he's always been there, a great friend. And the problem, what happened was he became unavailable. We'd rescheduled in pre-production a few times already. In case you haven't noticed, there's a lot of rescheduling that happens in filmmaking. So we'd rescheduled a couple of times already, and we lost Lang because he wasn't available, and it really wasn't his fault. And I know he wanted to do that film. He was amazing in The Liberator as Darcy. He did great fight work and doubling work in Hotel Hell. Yeah, he's really good. It was a shame we lost him. So that's the bad side of that. But then in the end, it still also worked out good, because we got Tudor, who'd been working on Thin White Line. We got him to come in and take on this role instead. And he nailed it. He was very, very good as the villain. It was very different than Daniel Lang. We were going for this Cockney London gangster. Instead, we got more of a European vibe, which actually worked really well. So it was a kind of, you know, good and bad. Number 3, lack of behind the scenes. Yeah, something that we learned further down the line, and we did start to incorporate a lot more of, but behind the scenes work, still photography, interviews, just candid B-roll footage, all that stuff is so useful for promotion. It's actually really fun to look back on all of that as well, as I'm discovering now these days. But in terms of promotion, it's so useful, and that's one of the reasons why we struggled with promoting particularly Jill Foster. Is we had these amazing poster images, and we had movie stills, and of course we had a trailer and whatnot, but we didn't have much behind the scenes footage, and I realised now, and we all realise now, how important that was. And so it was a good learning curve for us, but yeah, we could have done with more of that for sure. Okay, and now we're going to move on to the good stuff. Now I'm going to tell you some of the things that went right. Number one, Jessica Bailey. Really, really good. You know, it was, the concept was, the vehicle was designed for her, but she went, you know, above and beyond. She's just really athletic, strong woman. She was a yoga instructor. She was very physical. She'd done action scenes somewhat on the Liberator. She'd done some cool bits on that. Always had a good chemistry with her. From day one, we just seemed to sort of click from the day I met her, and obviously more we got to work with each other, the better our work became, I think. And Jill Foster was actually, for me, it was a highlight to see her really in full force as the lead. I was very pleased, and I remember at the Action on Film Festival, it was 2016, I began speaking to a female producer who really liked the film and everything, and she did want to go forward and help produce it, but with her female star as a sort of a vehicle for them, but she just wanted to use Jill Foster as the platform for it. And you know what, I could never do that, because it's all about Jess, man. She's a star. That kind of person that they walk in the room and it lights up the room, and everybody loved her, and she's taken a step away from the film and entertainment world, but she was absolutely brilliant, and we're all in her debt for her performance in this film. Number two, the cast, the crew. So yeah, all the rest of the cast, everybody was perfect. You had all these different roles and you had all these different faces, and they made all the right flavors come together to make this short really good and memorable. And there's just great chemistry between the goodies and the baddies, and the baddies and the baddies, and the goodies and the goodies. You know what I mean? It was just like, it was everything. It was like a perfectly blended recipe, and yeah, it was just one of those times where everybody's right. It was really good. There's some amazing crew members there, and you know, that was when I remember that was the beginning of a good team that came together when we started filming, and that team basically is still our team now. We've always had great people on board from the beginning, like our sound recordist Len Usselman, the best in the business, I'm sorry, and he works from the biggest productions in the world all the way down to the most humble indie productions. You know, he's a really good guy as well. So we always had people like him in place. But then I remember Jill Foster was the beginning of where we really started to get an understanding of who we really like to work with on a permanent basis, and always getting them in from then on, you know. So yeah, we're in everybody's debt there. I had a great time working on set with Richard Carlton, the DOP, as well. Just really easy to communicate your opinions to, and a really good person to bounce off of. He really listens and understands what you're asking for, and he's always able to add on top as well. Or if you're stuck, he'll be there with an alternative, you know. I remember really enjoying working with him. Number three, the fight scene. So the fight scene itself that we did film for the movie was actually really well done. It was Jess now fighting Richard Highgate, who was the main action villain, the physical villain. He was the henchman, heavy kind of guy. And he was very skilled. He'd done a lot of stage combat training. So skilled to the point where he was able to work with Jess, and they did some, you know, some stuff that I'd choreographed with the knife, and it looked very real and very good. I really liked the way it ended up. It was a really good scene, actually, quite violent, but it's what you need for a scene like that to be realistic. It's not always so realistic these days when you see women fighting in the films, because they're doing so much of the da, and you know, it's like, and they're picking up guys and chucking them, and it's like, no, you know. So we tried to do it intelligent. Okay, so how would a woman be able to beat a guy like that in a fight with the knife, you know? And it helps as well that Jess is very physical and she's strong, so those elements were still incorporated, but it was just realistic to how a feminine could fight confidently and dominate it and win. So yeah, very proud of that fight scene. Alright, so I hope you enjoyed the first episode of what went wrong, what went right. Please, comment, tell me what you thought, tell me if there's other films you'd like to see done. Yeah, thank you so much for your support, guys. Again, please like and sub if you haven't subbed, and please leave a comment, and yeah, I'm really grateful. Thanks so much, everybody, and I'll see you on the next one.